one of the things that we thought would be cool is to start off the office hours with a helpful tip, and we chose Exact Forms Plus automating the generation of a document. So some of you know how to use Exact Forms Plus and how to click a button to generate a document, but we want to show you how you can use the Exact Forms batch processor, which is part of your subscription to Exact Forms Plus, to help you automate the document creation instead of clicking a button to do so. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so right now, let me just move this out of the way here. Let's see. Okay, so I have this application called Office Hours, and it's two simple tables, but I also already have Exact Forms Plus set up. And basically, when I want to generate a document, I got to come to my estimate record, and I got to click a button, and it's going to generate a document. I didn't make any fancy document. I just took our standard template that we install once Exact Forms Plus is installed in an app. So once this comes back, okay. So in the case where you don't want to have your users click a document to generate, click a button to generate a document, we have our batch processor. And there's two flavors of our batch processor. We're going to go over one of them today, and we're going to go over one of them next week. But the one we're going to go over today is automating that button click. Maybe when the status changes from pending to approved, you want to have the document automatically generated instead of having a user click the button. Or maybe when you add a record to the estimates table and you enter all your information and you don't want to have to save it and then come back here and click the button, you want to have it automatically generated. That can be done through our Exact Forms Plus batch processor. So I'm going to show you how to set that up in this app. So right now I'm in my Builder account. I'm just going to sign out and sign back in again quick. So I'm in the Juiced Cloud, and I have access to my Builder account. I already have the batch processor set up for other applications, but I don't have it set up for this application. So I want to authorize a new application. And I already have my user token assigned to this new application, so I don't have to worry about doing that. But if you need to know how to do that, we have that on our help site as well. So I'm going to use my existing user token, and I'm going to click Next. But then again, I clicked on, I'm not sure if I went too fast, but I clicked on the Exact Forms Plus batch processor tile on the dashboard. So here I'm going to choose the application I want to set up. So it's my Office Hours application. And right now for this really isn't relevant for single document creation. It's more relevant for bulk document creation. So we'll just skip this, but this gives you a little explanation as to why we need that. But again, we're doing single document creation, so we won't need that. So I'm going to click Next. So now it's going to load the tables that I have available to me in this application that I want to set up. So I'm going to choose my estimates table, which I already have set up for Exact Forms Plus, but I want to set it up for the batch processor as well. And I'm going to choose my auto-generate a single document. Again, this one we're going to go over next week, but we want to keep it simple here, and we're just going to go over a single document. So since I already have Exact Forms Plus set up, I want to choose the same fields that are already being used. So I could create a new field if I wanted to store in the file, but I want to use the existing one. And I also want to use the existing date field. And I'm going to actually use the template that's already set up for that I already set up, which was template number 1. And you know what? I want to log my errors if I do run into any. And this is a new feature that we just released within the last couple of months. So once I have all of those selections made, I'm going to choose Finish. So right now it's going to create a couple of fields, and it's going to create some new tables in our estimates table. But what I want to show you is here, this is what we usually let you know what we did to the app, and we give you some helpful hints. So I'm actually going to open up, this is a link to our help site, and I think Justin's going to post the same link in the chat. But basically it's going to show you what you need to do to fire off the batch processor. So that's there. Whoops, sorry about that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right to my estimates table. So I could do that from there. So you'll notice that there's one new table that was created called batch processing errors. But also what was created, if I go into the record that I was working on before, there was a batch processing errors table. And also there was another field that didn't get added to the form, but it was called batch processing arguments. This may look familiar to you because if you look at this, it's very similar to the code behind the button. So if I go into this button, these are all the parameters that we pass into the web version of Exact Forms Plus. And this is how we execute the web version. You click a button to execute that. If you want to execute the batch version, you need to be able to pass parameters into the batch. And these parameters in this field here get passed in, but the way they get passed in is through an email notification. So I'm going to show you how to set up the email notification in order to fire this batch creation. So let's go into my notifications. I'm going to create a new email notification. And if you notice, if you did jump over to the help site, exactly what I'm doing is detailed here. And I actually keep this on my other screen here so that I can copy and paste some of the information from it. So I'm going to create an email notification. And it has to be an open email notification because you're sending an email out to an email address that we monitor. A recipient email address has to be internal to the application. So that's why you have to choose open. And if for some reason your app is not open for sending out emails to external email addresses, you'll have to put in a support case to do that. So here I'm just going to call this EFP batch trigger. The email address that we send it to is actually in the help link. And it's right down in here. So I'm going to pull that over. I'm just going to do a copy and paste. What I also recommend you do, though, is, especially at the beginning, is to copy yourself as well, just so that you know that the email notification is getting fired. So in my case, I want to create the document automatically when the status field changes. And I want to set it to be when the status field changes to the value of, I think it's approved, but let me just check. Accepted. Okay, so when the status changes to accepted, I'm going to fire off Exact Forms Plus batch processor. So basically what I'm doing is I'm sending an email to our batch processor. And I want to customize the subject. And you can just put anything you want in here, but we usually put in EFP batch request. And sometimes what we recommend you do is maybe put your company name in there. This helps us troubleshoot because when we see the emails coming in, we know who's sending them. The next thing you want to do is you want to choose that brand new field that was added, which was called the arguments field. So there it is. And that's all you really have to do to send off the single record version of this email notification. And one thing you want to do is, if you click preview in the upper right, you want to make sure that that type equals batch is in the arguments field. Older implementations of our arguments field didn't have type equals EFP batch, but the newer one does, so it should be there. And if it's not there, we show you on the help site how to add it, but it's already there in the new installation, so it's good. And one other thing I'm going to do a little bit more advanced, I'm going to actually show you how to do multi-record version as well. So I'm going to copy my subject. And sometimes I like to put in here multi, so I know it's multi. And all you have to do, and again, this is detailed in the help site, is you have to put a repeat on and a repeat off. And do the same thing with your adding your arguments field. And then I choose my end. So what this is going to do is, if multiple records are edited, maybe in grid edit mode, it's going to create it's going to send multiple requests to our batch processor to generate more than one document, one for every document, every record that was modified. So right now, this is all good. I'm going to hit save. So that email will fire whenever the field status is changed to accepted. Okay, so let's go back to my record here, and I'm going to go to a different one. I'll go to one that's in pending status. I'm going to edit this record. Exact Forms Plus, oh, it already ran in this one. Let me find one that hasn't run it yet. Maybe this one. Okay, it hasn't run in this one yet. So I'm going to change this status from pending to accepted. and I'm going to hit save and close. Now, what really happens here is an email notification gets fired off to our batch processor. You know what? I'm going to add a couple of fields here. And what that does is it tells Exact Forms Plus to run and basically simulate what that button click is doing. I'm just going to add some fields to my report so we can see. Okay, so this was, which was the record that we were working on?
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith, right. The reason why the times are off, because this application is Pacific time. So that's why it's 11:16. Well, anyway, so the document was automatically generated just by me changing the status from pending to accepted. So I didn't have to click this button to do it. I had to just change the status. Now I could have set that email notification to fire on add record or on modification of something else. So that's how our batch processor gets fired. Now, if I wanted to, in this case, I'm going to change, since this one wasn't generated and this one wasn't generated, I'm going to do the multi-document creation. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to edit these records. And I'm going to, even though this is rejected, it's just for a test, I'm going to change that to accepted, and I'm going to change this to accepted. So Bob the Builder and Jim Henson. These two documents, once I hit save here, and all you really have to do is kind of refresh. It takes up to 30 seconds or so before our batch processor fires, but there you go. So we just saw that Bob Builder and Jim Henson both had documents created. Here's the documents. So again, I didn't have to click the button for two records. All I did was I grid edited and changed the status. Now I could have had check boxes in there, and maybe I have a grid edit report of maybe 50 documents or 50 records, and I choose them all, and it'll basically go in and it'll send requests to our batch processor to generate those documents. And that is pretty much.
Yeah, Keith, and I think that was really great and very well explained. I think to visualize it for a lot of clients' thought processes, when you have your end users going through your forms, and many clients that I've seen have form fields that are almost pages long that you scroll down, your end users don't want to also have to remember to click a button at a certain phase of the process. So to be able to build this into the logic is a huge benefit for many of our clients. And as Keith showed, it just needs to be a drop-down field. Obviously, this is a very simple explanation to it, but I think there's a lot of use cases where clients could see the benefit of this.